Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and call to order the March 7th meeting of the Monroe County Election Board. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve them, or do we even have any minutes?
We do,
Yeah.
and I have read them and made clarifications. I will make a motion to approve the minutes for the February 2024 Election Board meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or other fine tuning? No.
No.
Great, let's go ahead and all those in favor of approval of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Same sign for no, no no's, so let's move on. You know, the next item on the agenda is the clerk's update, but I was wondering, would my colleagues be comfortable with us moving the agenda a little bit and bringing to the front of the agenda under new business, the annual CFA 4 late filings hearing? We've got a couple of office holders here who I know are going to address that issue, and if everyone's cool with that, maybe we could do that first before we get on with the rest of the meeting.
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
Do we need to make a formal motion, or are we good? Hi,
I
Molly.
think that suffices.
Okay, great, thanks. Well, let's go ahead to that. Sorry to put you on the spot there, Kylie, but do you want to lead off this discussion on that?
And you said for the CFA 4 late filing or the Sakasari?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, there's two.
Yes.
My apologies for
You're
the
fine.
confusion. Let's start with the old business, first item with Isak Asari, because I know he's here, and then we'll go on to the CF4As.
Sounds good. So
A4, sorry.
No, of course. So with Sakasari, we actually had a late filing with the pre-election. We had taken care of that at the last meeting, and then with this meeting, we are actually here for the CFA 11 that was not filed with his report. And then we can just let him explain on that a little bit further.
Okay, great.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. I really don't have anything necessarily to explain. I think the fact pattern is straightforward. The thing was not filed, though frankly I just found this out at this moment a few minutes ago while here. I thought we were meeting about the late CFA 4 filing. I don't contest any of this. I don't think that there's any leniency that needs to be given to me. I think that filing such reports is crucial and important. I chalk it up to human error, but that doesn't give anybody a reason not to be fined. So I'm not here to contest the fine, but happy to answer any questions as I take the matter seriously.
Anybody have any questions for Isak?
Do I understand that this is the first time that you've had a large contribution, so the first time that you had the CFA 11 was filed late?
I believe so. If my understanding is that a large contribution is over $1,000, I received one such contribution from former Mayor John Hamilton. That was the only contribution for $1,000 that I received.
And I apologize, as I'm reading this, it looks like they can't hear you online. Can you make sure your microphone is on?
I'll go ahead and do that.
Push the button that has the little person.
Is that
That looks
right?
good.
Okay.
So for the benefit of the people online, would you mind to
Sure.
summarize what you said?
In summary, I said that I first off had only heard of the reason for this meeting upon arriving today. That is not any excuse. I'm just stating the facts of my lack of preparedness. But I said that I take these filings very seriously. I'm not asking for leniency, nor am I contesting any of the facts. I think that it is important that that be stated very clearly for the record. So.
Then my question to you was, is it accurate that this is your first large contribution?
That's correct.
Meaning the first time you've not filed a
Yeah,
CFA.
it was both the
4.
first time I received a large contribution and as a consequence, the first time that I failed to say that I failed to submit the CFA 11 form designating that I had received a large contribution.
And so with that, for me, I would believe that that would represent something that would be sanctioned by a warning. I said warrant. I don't know where that came from. A warning.
You're looking at the prosecutor.
I'm looking at the prosecutor. And so unless there's further
that a motion?
discussion, I would be happy to make the motion to issue a warning for candidate Asari.
Second.
Any other discussion or anybody from the public want to comment? Okay, seeing none, I think we do a roll call on these, correct? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
John Fernandez,
Yes,
Judith Benkart,
Yes.
okay.
Mr. Chair, I noticed online that a candidate is also online. I don't know.
Oh, yes.
In Zoom
Mr.
world,
Carlson.
you would have asked to promote them to a panelist. I don't know how it works on here. And then I did see another candidate walk in.
Okay, great.
May I be
thank you.
seated? Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Asari.
So now we are back to what was actually under new business, the annual CFA 4 late filing hearings, correct? And we have a couple of candidates here. All 3 of them here. Great.
He is online and asked, did he need to race down and represent himself? I don't know if he can be promoted so that we can converse.
That's
Or-
for the control.
No, oh,
Yeah. So yes, let's start with Hans Kelsen then, who is online. And while we're getting him connected, Molly or Kylie, could you kind of summarize what the issue is before us as it relates to Hans Kelsen?
So with Hans, his filing deadline was on January 17th. He had filed on January 17th at 12:13, making him 13 minutes late for filing.
Okay. Is that a first-time event?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do we want to hear from Mr. Kelson, or folks satisfied with, yes, if you want to address us, please do. Looks like you're unmuted, if I believe. I'm looking at the chat, and no, we cannot hear you.
he is chatting.
We can definitely see the chat. So if you want to make a comment, I'm happy to read it for the record. Wonders of technology here. I mean, oh, there we go. You are on, we can see you, but we cannot hear you. Okay,
Oh, the viewing audience can hear him. We can't.
it's a first time violation. You know, just do a warning. Yeah, just make that motion. I think that we can't hear you, but let me, I don't want to preempt your opportunity to address us, but if I understand the facts right, this was a near miss on the filing deadline. It's a first time omission. I'm assuming that my colleagues are going to want to just do a warning. If that is a fair assumption, would one of my colleagues want to make a motion?
Sorry, I just want to weigh in here for a second. This is TSD up here.
Okay.
The audio is set for him. I don't know if it's something on his end. He should try talking again.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
There we go.
We,
Okay. Now, I'm not, in the spirit of full honesty, I will just say that the facts you have are incorrect, and this is not the first time that I have been late with this filing. Now, if you want to go with the information that you had, that would be fine with me, but I am honor bound to state that. However, in this case, there have been a lot of, well, let's put it this way. It was 13 minutes. I remembered that I had to do it, and I raced through it, and I did it in record time. And my explanation for myself is really that my campaign only exists because I have not. There's some paperwork I have to finish, and I am not actually candidate for office. And I had completely forgotten that I had to file this form until I was notified that the online filing service was going away a week before the deadline. And so then it slipped through. So I'm sorry, but also, I'm not actually a candidate. And I think I made a pretty heroic effort to try to get it in on time.
I certainly appreciate the candor.
The other thing I will state is that since I initially ran for office, the rule has, I believe, changed, and campaigns of my size don't even need to form committees anymore. So the fine, I think, at this point would be more than the entire budget of my campaign ever was. So I humbly request not to have to pay it. Thank you.
Again, I appreciate the candor in terms of the prior filing. Okay, so what's the pleasure of the board here?
I make a motion to issue a warning for Mr. Kelson's failure to file his CFA 4 on time.
I will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on this? All right, seeing none, let's call the vote.
Nicole Brown,
Yes.
John Fernandez,
Yes.
Judith Benkart,
Yes.
All right, so
I appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, thanks for joining. Sorry for the technical difficulties there.
That's okay. I've sat in that chair. I know.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so I think the next one we want to take up is, I'm looking at who's online here. No one else is online, right?
No.
Okay, so let's go with, let's see, is it
William.
William Ellis? Can you kind of summarize the status of that particular filing?
For William Ellis, it was on January 17th. He filed on February 5th at 2:42 p.m.
And is this a repeat event or is this a first time?
On my document, it shows it as first.
Okay. Okay,
I do believe it's the first time too, and I want to apologize to the election board and to the county. What's ironic about this is on the 10th, I sent out an email to every Republican reminding them to timely file their forms. And guess who didn't? So, and the only, I don't have an excuse. As soon as I realized that I didn't file, within minutes, I filed. So I apologize, but I will accept whatever judgment the board. I know better.
Great, thank you. Any comments from the board?
Not for me.
I am happy to make a motion to issue a warning for candidate Ellis.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Any public comment? All right, seeing none, let's read the roll.
Nicole Brown,
Yes.
John Fernandez,
Yes.
Judith Benkart,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Okay, next is Erica Oliphant.
For Erica, she due date was January 17th, and it was filed on the 19th at 10:10 a.m.
Yes, so we filed 2 days late our campaign finance report. This was an annual report in an off year, and it's really just due to a misreading and miscalendaring of the date that it was due. This was my first offense, I'm happy to report. Really, I apologize for taking up your time. I just want to express my thanks to the board and Clerk Brown for your attention to detail and hard work on elections here. So thank you for that. Obviously I have a great deal of respect for the law and making sure that these processes are done correctly. So thank you for your service, and I will accept whatever decision the board sees fit to make.
Great, thanks. Any comments from board members?
I have no discussion if the board members do not, and with that, I am happy to entertain, or I'm happy to make a motion to issue a warning to candidate Oliphant.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. You want to read the roll, please?
Nicole Brown,
Yes.
John Fernandez,
Yes.
Judith Benkart,
Yes.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thanks
Nice
for
to
coming
see
in.
you.
This will take some explaining, and then I think there's 2 others.
Are they here?
No.
Okay, so left on the agenda for this item are a couple other candidates, but there's also there's a resolved issue or unresolved issue with Steve Volan. He's not here though, so. is that something-
He was extended a letter of invitation, and I know that he received it because he called my office after getting the letter.
And so, but his situation been resolved then?
So what he had stated was during our last meeting, whenever he had came and spoke with us, it was under his understanding that he was here for that filing that we had sent him the invitation for. The reason he was here that last time was for the CFA 11, so he was already fined for the $50 on that. So in my regards, this would be taken care of.
Okay, great. Okay. And then we have a couple left, right?
Correct. We have Scott Oldham. There was an issue with filing within our office, but we had gotten that taken care of, and he actually came to speak with us personally on Friday, the 1st. So I have some of that information in your guys' packet that I sent you, but we did get him finalized, and that was his first filing on that.
Okay. And then we have one other, right?
We have
School board.
Connor Wright, who was he turned in on the 17th, but at 2:20 p.m., so 2 hours and 20 minutes late. And then the only other one would be Catherine, but she is out of the country, and she was 7 minutes late, and this is her first late filing as well.
So if it's agreeable, could we just make a motion for all of those
Well,
together, assuming they're going to be similar, or?
assuming they're going to be similar, may I ask for clarification? So I know that there was correspondence sent for Mr. Volan's filing, but then we did not receive the form. Have we got the form?
We, when I look back in the email that he had sent me had the, where it shows that he had sent it, but is unable for us to receive that document.
So we still do not have the form.
We don't have the physical form itself.
He had, as I understood it, he had sent the form to the state instead of sending it to the election board, and to date, we still do not have the form. Is that
Correct. And then he had also sent it to Tree once she was already gone. And so then we had asked for it and we got the email that he had sent to her, but cannot receive the document.
Can't receive it because it's not attached, or?
Because it
can't
was
open
forwarded instead of the document actually being attached to it to send to us.
Okay.
Does he know that we haven't received the physical copy?
My office was informed to reach out to him. As far as I know, he was reached, and I had spoke with him on the phone, but we have not received it yet.
How long ago was that?
The last meeting was when he had sent the original document.
Okay. And so it's been about a month?
Correct.
And I personally delivered myself, my chief deputy, and one other person, or was it just the two of us?
I had delivered a few as well.
We delivered the letters personally to make, because they had the wrong date on them when they went out originally. So then we divided them up and personally delivered. And so I personally delivered Mr. Boland's. And my understanding, he was very angry when he called my office back because he believes we received the form and we have not actually received the form.
Okay.
So if you want to do it separate to address
Yeah.
that, we can. And then if you do the other two, I'm happy to, since
Yeah,
it's
let's do
their
the other two
warning.
first, and then come back to
Okay.
Mr. Ball.
Then I will make a motion for the other two candidates for whom this is their first offense, that we issue a warning for both candidates.
And that would be Connor Wright and Scott Oldham.
Correct.
And
And Catherine.
Catherine,
That one, Catherine, so there's three.
Yes, so 3 warnings, so.
That'll be for Connor Wright, Catherine, and Scott Oldham.
Correct.
yes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments? Public? No? Let's go ahead and read the roll on that one then.
Nicole Brown,
Yes.
John Fernandez.
Yes.
Judith Benkart,
Yes.
So what are my colleagues', I guess, preference on dealing with the outstanding filing from Mr. Boland?
We absolutely have to have the form in his candidate packet. And so it feels a little disingenuous that he would be angry with us for a form we were not able to receive. It would be a matter of bringing the form in person once he acknowledged it. If he faces a fine, I'd be willing to compromise on that. I mean, he certainly made efforts. He just sent it to the wrong place and then didn't get it to us once he realized that we weren't able to open the message. So I'd be willing to compromise, but we absolutely have to have that form for his records.
So would it make sense to just keep this on the agenda for the next meeting, and in the meantime, let's either get the form or deal with
Well-
the fine at that time?
In a completely separate thing, as a member of a committee, we would normally be in a position to ask him in person to bring, that we need that form, but my understanding is that he's not able to attend the meeting until May 1st.
Correct.
So I'm happy to drive back out to his house, lift me up in prayer, to ask him for the form. So I'm happy to do that. But
Yeah.
He can't drive that in. He can't put it in the mail. He can't.
So I had sent the letter originally, and the one that had the incorrect date on it actually just got delivered back to our office because he never went and picked it up from the post office as it was a certified mail and had to sign for it.
But I drove the right date and the right time for today to his house. Did we do those Monday?
Yes.
And the front door was open. I rang the bell twice. Perhaps he was doing landscaping in the backyard, but there happened to be some, I'm gonna assume Amazon purchases, and so they were heavy. So I put the letter in between 2 boxes, but the voter registration address was sticking out, and I know that he got it because he called my office and yelled at my staff.
And that's a CFA 11 that we're waiting for,
Is it the CFA 11, Ms.
or
Kyle?
is it the 4?
Yes, it's the CFA 11 because he had got the fine for the CFA 4, and then the CFA 11 was dismissed because it was his first time filing one, and so we had decided that we were just going to dismiss it, but we still have yet to receive the form itself.
Okay.
If we don't get the form, can we, I'm just throwing this out as an idea. If we don't get the form by the next meeting, then it's a $50 fine.
I'll second that.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can you read the roll?
Before you do the roll, though, how are we going to, because he doesn't pick up the phone, correct? He didn't answer the door. How are we going to let him know, get the form to us, or there will be a $50 fine? He doesn't pick up his mail.
Well, he does say in his, well, no, that's a different guy, isn't it? He didn't say anything in his.
I will volunteer to go back out on my way home. But if, I'm not gonna go to
Okay, take
extreme efforts if he doesn't answer the door.
make sure it's clear on the envelope, what it is. Tape it to the door, take a picture.
Tape it, okay, I
Okay.
can do that.
All right.
I can.
I was going to say, whenever he had came for the first time at the last meeting for him to explain why he was late, he did say that he didn't receive it. And this time we had sent it, it got there, but he never went to pick it up to sign saying that he received it.
And may I note, the board recommended that we send things certified, which it comes out of my postage line. And so for them to then not have him receive it, to go and pick it up, kind of feels like a little slap in the face, kind of.
Well, he knew that it was coming, so
He knew it
I'm
was
with
coming.
you on that.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's get back to the regular agenda then.
You had the vote. We didn't.
Oh, we didn't vote on that? Okay, please read the roll.
Nicole Brown,
Yes.
John Fernandez,
Yes.
Judith Benkart,
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Now, back to regular order here. So the next item on the agenda is a clerk's update.
Yes. Legislative session has largely wrapped up. I wanted to just talk about a couple of things that came up during the session. The governor has not signed the bills, but they have passed out of the State House. So some that I thought would be interesting to the board and to the community. House Bill 1133 is the use of digitally altered media in elections. This session, they defined fabricated media as any audio or visual recording of an individual's speech, appearance, or conduct that has been altered without the individual's consent, such that the media conveys a materially incorrect or inaccurate depiction of the individual's speech, appearance, or conduct as recorded in the altered recording. A reasonable person would not be able to recognize that the recording had been altered. Artificially generated audio or visual imitation of an individual that has been created without their consent. And the point of this legislation is that it allows a candidate who is depicted in fabricated media that does not include the required disclaimer to bring civil action against the specified persons. So that has passed and is en route to the governor's office. House Bill 1264 was carried by the chairman of the House Elections Committee for the Secretary of State. That one specifies proof of residency requirements that apply to certain individuals who register to vote in person at a registration agency. And that is in reference to first-time voters proving that they live where they say they live. The Secretary of State has also gotten the authority to begin using information from third-party vendors to verify a voter's address. Specifically, what was discussed this session was use of credit bureau reports. So your Equifax, TransUnion, things like that. So you can use they can use your credit report to confirm your address. House Bill 1265 is traditionally known as the Indiana Election Divisions Bill, and it passed. It's long, so I won't go through that one, but they make some provisions and changes to election division statutes. Senate Bill 150 is also an artificial and cybersecurity bill. It is a statewide policy regarding artificial intelligence. The one I am most proud of and most excited to share with you, after 2 years of hard work, we did successfully get Senate Bill 170 across the finish line. Senate Bill 170 defines an election worker and makes it a level 6 felony to threaten an election worker or to obstruct, interfere, or injure an election worker. It did pass unanimously out of both the House and Senate, and I'm very excited about that. So that is your legislative update. Then I want to remind the board that I did advise that we would have, by the next meeting, we would have a chief deputy clerk as well as an election supervisor. And with that, I would love to introduce Laura Wirt, who is formerly a chief deputy at the Brown County Clerk's Office. And then Miss Kylie, you will already remember, who was working and helping us with elections. She was promoted from within to election supervisor. I am very excited, thrilled, fortunate to get to work with these young ladies, and I think that you are going to find them as amazing as I do, with my bias very openly showing. Thank you.
Welcome.
And
congratulations on the promotion, Kylie.
And then finally, the registration deadlines. Some of you may know, many people may know, Monroe County government will be closed for the solstice. Is that right?
The eclipse.
Eclipse. I was like, I'm getting that word wrong, but in real time, I couldn't remember what it was. Sorry. The eclipse. So the eclipse didn't care about the fact that early voting was getting ready to start. And so normally April 8th would be the last day that you could officially register if you wanted to vote in the coming election, the upcoming primary. But because of the eclipse, that deadline has been moved to noon on April 9th. With that being said, that does not interfere. Early voting will start at 8 o'clock in the morning on April 9th. Polls will be open, but you can register until noon that day. This has never happened to me before. I don't know how the logistics are going to work out, but the Indiana Election Division, I'm sure, will give us guidance. We're not the only county that's going to be closed due to the eclipse. So that is all of the updates that I have for the board. Thank you.
Nicole, on the registration online, registration is still on the 8th at 11:59 p.m.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So online until the regular deadline, but then you have an opportunity to do in-person registration on the 9th, assuming all the crowds are gone and you can make it in. Yes. Should be interesting. Okay, let's move on then. We have an update from Election Central.
All right, so for early voting, the start date is going to be on April 9th, and early voting will be from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Then I also wanted to touch base on Election Day poll workers. If you would like to work on Election Day, we have information with our recruiters' names, phone numbers, and emails on our website, and you can contact them to get set up to work on Election Day. And then lastly, public sample ballot review and the LAB testing will both be coming up within this month. We don't have a complete set date yet, but we will be sending out those public notices before too long.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kylie. Any public comment on any of those items? I don't see anybody online. Okay, let's move on to the next item 4, which is the Vote Center Study Committee update. And with us is the chair of that committee, Ami Kandi.
You gave me a promotion. I'm not the chair, but I'm the humble representative for that committee to report to you all. So good afternoon, everyone.
I stand corrected.
And thank you to election board member Bankart and also Clerk Brown, and thank you, Kylie. Several people in the room here have been a part of the committee meetings, and so if anyone would like to add to my brief updates, please do, because we have a wealth of information in this room. Our committee has outlined several different types of data that we're interested in reviewing to have a data-driven approach to this analysis, and we're still working on getting access to that data and having it shared with us in a way that we can visualize and really gain from in our discussion. And I think that we're starting to make some progress there. Thank you to the county for providing our committee with some data as of a couple days ago that I think will help us understand more about the outcomes from some of the other counties that have gone to a vote center model. That's some of what our committee has been waiting on. And we also have started setting out and discussing potential benefits that we see as well as concerns about going to a vote center model. A couple of our independent and nonpartisan identified committee members started speaking to those in our most recent meeting, and we will be doing more of a deep dive on that in the meetings to come. And let me pause there and hear if there are any questions for our committee that I can try to answer.
Any questions, comments?
No, I don't know if it fits into this at the moment, but Molly, it's my understanding that you have some of the documents from some of these counties and you have offered them to the committee.
I supplied the Vote Center Committee with 10 vote center plans from various counties throughout the state. I did not pick 10, it was just 10 that I could find, so it's not any particular county. And then I also supplied them with a website where there are short videos from three clerks. One is Tippecanoe County, one is Cass, and I cannot remember the third. But in those short snippet videos, the clerks are asked a specific question, such as what was the benefit, what was the most difficult thing in transitioning to a vote center. And each of the three clerks provide us, like, it's a 30-second video for each question, which I thought might be helpful for the committee to have.
And so they all have that now?
Correct. I sent it Monday, I think.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sending that. And my understanding, and Kylie or others, please correct me if you like, but my understanding is that we're also waiting to get data about voting patterns here. So by precinct, some idea of eligibility and turnout for the different geographic locations.
Correct, and I should have that by the end of the day today or by tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm sure that's a lot to pull together. Thank you. And we also have the person who was our chair of our committee has appointed a proxy. So that's the other update that we owed you.
Okay. Who is that?
Ilana Stonebreaker was our chair, has appointed a proxy, Emily Alford.
Any other comments or questions?
Well, speaking of proxies, and we were talking about this person in a different capacity earlier, my understanding is that Steve Volan will not be able to participate on the Vote Center Committee until May 1st.
That is correct. He sent an email stating that he will be teaching classes Mondays and Wednesday nights and will not be able to attend until May 1st.
And did I also understand that he is refusing to appoint a proxy?
My understanding is he didn't believe he needed to appoint a proxy.
Can the election board help our committee understand what you see as the rules on that?
My thoughts on this, and I'm just throwing my thoughts out there, only speaking for Nicole Brown. If any one of us was not able to, we would, barring an unforeseen emergency, two of us could be together, that would make a quorum, but we would have to appoint a proxy. And so I did, when I was made aware of that, it bothered me that he did not see the need. And even in another capacity, if he weren't going to be there, would he not have to have a proxy for the city? Or is it just a quorum?
I can't address that. I mean, yeah, anything I say would be speculation. So. I mean, is it impacting the work of the committee? I mean,
Is there any absence policy when you all brought us into existence? Something you were expecting? Does anyone happen to know that?
yeah, I don't. Molly?
When the election board amended the Vote Center Study Committee, the language used was if a member of the Vote Center Committee is unable to attend a meeting, he may appoint a proxy. It doesn't require him to appoint a proxy. The only factor that not appointing a proxy may affect is it could affect quorum. But if there is a quorum present, even if Mr. Volan doesn't appoint a proxy, then the meeting would continue.
Mm-hmm.
And his appointment to that is in what capacity?
I believe it was a Democratic Party appointment.
Okay.
So you wouldn't know until he didn't show up. Right. That you didn't have a quorum. And then everybody has shown up and given their time, and then, sorry about your luck, no meeting tonight?
And to make a quorum for us, it is 6.
Okay. Why don't we take that issue offline and have a conversation with the Democratic Party chair and see how he wants to proceed, if that's who Mr. Boland's representing.
Yep, that works.
Great. Anything else for us?
No. Any questions for us?
No, I appreciate what you're
Thank
doing.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Great. Okay, the next item on the agenda is old business. We took care of item 1. The second item is the approval, potential approval of the 2024 poll site locations.
It's an attachment with all of the polling locations. We do have a total of 29. It will look on your guys' table that we have 30, but we did have to skip number 19 to work with Hart as they have a list that they go by. So on that, it has all of our locations with their addresses and which precincts will be with them.
I'm looking at that now. Any comments or questions from the board?
No?
Any comments or questions from the public? I'm looking online as well to see if any of the folks online have questions.
Is there a chat box?
There is. I don't see any. Okay, so I believe we need to approve this. Do we have a motion to approve the 2024 poll site locations? Because I understand that we make an approval and then it's going to go to the county commissioners to take the final action.
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
I make a motion to approve the 2024 poll sites that are contained on the document that was submitted to the board by Kylie.
I will second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Unless there's any public comment, we can call the roll.
Nicole Brown,
Yes.
John Fernandez,
Yes.
Judith Benkart,
Yes.
Okay, the primary poll, I guess the 2024 poll site locations are approved and then they will be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners. Let's move on to new business. The next item on the agenda is the 2024 primary poll workers nominations, review and appointment. It's my understanding that the way this works is that we receive the recommendations from the two party chairs, and we have received those. Is there anything else that Kylie, you or anyone like to address as it relates to those?
In speaking with the election supervisor, I think the list that we received does not designate nominations for absentee ballot counters or couriers, but we wouldn't need those until election day, but we're still supposed to receive the nominations along with the other absentee board members. And the same applies for travel board. So my recommendation to the board is to go ahead and approve the list that we received as absentee board members. And then we would ask the party chairs to make nominations for counters, couriers, and travel board. And statutorily, the election board has until March 18th to make that request for nominations, and then the party chairs have until March 22nd to provide the nominations, and then those could be appointed at the April election meeting.
Okay. And our meeting would be before the early voting starts then, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any public comment on that? I'll entertain a motion to support Molly's recommendation.
And I did prepare a resolution for signature of the board that states, it references the statute that sets out the procedure, and then it states that nominations were asked for on February 14th and received by the party chairs on February 19th and March 4th. The list that we received from both party chairs will be attached as Exhibit A and B to the resolution, and the resolution will read, pursuant to Indiana Code 311.54422, the individuals listed in Exhibit A and Exhibit B are duly appointed as absentee vote or board members for the primary election occurring in May of 2024.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion then?
I will make a motion to accept the recommended list of absentee voters for this meeting.
Absentee workers.
Absentee workers, excuse me.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Before we call the vote on that, I just want to publicly thank all of these folks who are stepping up to be absentee workers for our elections. Such an important thing, and we kind of take it for granted. So
I do not.
the people in this room, but I think a lot of people in
I definitely do
the
not.
public kind of just assume these things happen magically, but it's a great commitment from some of our fellow citizens, so I appreciate it. Okay, with that, can we call the roll?
Nicole Brown,
Yes.
John Fernandez,
Yes.
Judith Benkart,
Yes.
Okay, I think the next item on the agenda related to the state convention delegates, non-contested races on the ballot. I don't believe there's an action item on there, is there?
No, I was just basically wanting to make the chairs aware of the parties that I had received the email from you, John Fernandez, on February 19th, and the deadline to have the state convention delegates or precinct committeemen printed for uncontested races on the ballot was going to be February 16th. So therefore, the uncontested races will not be printed on the ballot.
Does the law provide for like write-ins for those? I'm just kind of curious.
For the write-ins, it's just the general.
That's what I thought. Yeah, and I would say that the deadline issue, I guess that's on me. I didn't know there was a deadline, but I also want to, just for the record, note that printing all of these uncontested positions on the ballot would extend the length of the ballot from a single page to how many?
When we were looking at it, a single page, it was going to be front and back and going continued onto a second sheet of paper.
If we included everybody, as opposed to
What we have currently, and it barely fills a full page just with the contested races.
Okay. Any public comment on that? I'm looking online as well. I don't see any. Okay, let's move on to the next item then, which is the lab testing list of machines approval. And this does require action by the board. Kylie, do you want to explain what we're doing here?
So this is for our LAB testing that will take place towards the end of this month. This is just making sure that all of our scanners are working correctly, and we will go through and test the ballots, and we will scan them in different ways. We'll do some that have no markings on the page, some that have one, some that have two, and it just goes through to test the machines to make sure that they are scanning correctly and counting the votes correctly. On this, you will have 5 scanner names that are on here. These are also going to be the names of the locations that they will be at. On this, you will need to select the first 3, which was going to be Summit Elementary, Bloomington High School North, and Highland Park Elementary. We just need from your guys a full vote saying that this is your guys' recommended account.
And just to be clear, we are not changing the equipment
No.
or the process. This is just a regular required sample testing.
Correct. It's just a test of the machine to ensure that they're working the same way that they should be, and to ensure that the ballots themselves are reading correctly.
And this all comes through the V-stop.
Correct.
That was,
Which I learned the other day what that acronym means, and I have quickly forgotten.
and that was what I was going to say in the interest of transparency. The board did not choose these locations or machines. That is chosen by VStop, which is the Secretary of State's vendor for lack of a better turn of phrase, to make sure that they randomly pick, so it takes the bias out of it on our end. It's an independent vendor for the Secretary of State.
Okay. So we have we need to take, do you have a resolution for this that we'll need to sign as well?
I do not, but I can draft one super fast.
No, that's okay.
I've not ever seen us do a resolution for that.
Okay, I was just
The
making sure.
board does come together for that, and so for that reason, I'll be recommending that we recess rather than adjourn until the date is announced and can be noticed, so that the board can be at the testing.
Oh, we convened for the actual testing? Okay,
Yay, surprise.
surprise. Okay, so do we need a motion to approve this list?
I don't ever recall doing anything like that, but I guess that it cannot hurt.
If we don't
I
do
will-
one, I don't see any reason to do it. So, okay, so at this point, we'll just go to public comment. Is there any public comment on any election-related business that hasn't been addressed?
I have commented when you get to the end of the meeting.
That's where we are, so please come on up and identify yourself and.
Well, I do think there's
we do
one
have-
more
I'm
item.
sorry, my apologies. I'm looking at, yeah, I'm looking at my old agenda. So this is our draft agenda. So we do have one more item on the agenda, and it relates to the salary ordinance. So Molly, are you presenting this?
Yes. So the county council is considering making an amendment to the salary ordinance to clarify and eliminate confusion regarding payment of absentee board members. This is because the salary ordinance has a per diem of 140 days and then says per election day. And that's led to confusion, especially when you look at it in light of individuals who only do work on election day. So they are considering 3 options to eliminate this confusion and to make the pay vouchers that are submitted to our employee services department match the salary ordinance. And so the council would like to see if there's any recommendations or thought from the election board on their the 3 options that they are considering before they move forward. And the reason the council is considering it is because statutorily they are vested with the authority of setting pay for the absentee board members and travel board. So the first option they are considering is leaving the per diem for absentee board members of $140 a day, but removing the per election day language. This would mean that those employees would receive $140 a day, regardless of if they work 2 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours. The second option is to to set an hourly rate for absentee board leads and remove the language that states per election day. This option would correlate with the pay vouchers that were recently submitted for absentee board leads. And then the third option is to amend the salary ordinance to remove two categories. Right now, there's early voters and there's absentee board member leads. To remove those two categories, but set a pay rate for all absentee board members. I think the reason that this option was being considered is because statutorily, there are only two categories of absentee board members. There's absentee board members and travel boards. We have several subcategories, such as leads, and I think there's a recruiter one, but the recruiter one isn't currently provided for in the salary ordinance. But having one category eliminates confusion, reduces the need to continually amend the salary ordinance, and it would set the same rate for all absentee board members. And so those are the three options that the council is considering, and they just wanted to see if the election board had any thoughts.
Any comments from, I'm gonna have a couple questions, but any comments from Judith or Nicole?
So last fall, we had a meeting that I actually invited our leads to in the HR office. And so I'm concerned. They presented here before to the board. They meaning the absentee leads. I think that people don't necessarily understand exactly all that is expected of, required of our absentee leads and our absentee workers. And actually, I was hopeful to increase their pay. We are looking at clerks all across the state having an issue even recruiting and retaining quality workers, and pay is part of it. I have been told, if you decrease our pay, good luck finding workers going forward. More and more poll workers are concerned for their safety. And so what the council is proposing pre-pandemic, pre-insurrection would certainly have been reasonably competitive, not necessarily reflective. Pre-pandemic and pre-insurrection, these numbers might have worked. Post-pandemic, post-insurrection, poll workers concerned for their safety, I really am hopeful to increase that pay. So, for example, I believe we've explained that like a lead translates to an inspector on election day. In Hamilton County, inspectors make $400 on election day. In Brown County, and I got that thanks to my new chief deputy, inspectors who only oversee one precinct make $180 on election day. But if they oversee more than one precinct, they make more than that. I would like to see my leads make $200 per day, doing the equivalent of the inspector on election day. And so I've not been to the council, I've not been invited to talk to the council about this, but we are in dire circumstances with respect to not only retaining our poll workers who have institutional knowledge and absentee workers who have institutional knowledge, but in trying to recruit people and asking them not only for their service, but to put aside their concerns for their personal safety and help us to get through the election. So I might have other things to say, but that got it off my chest.
Just
Thank you.
A couple of questions. One, what the council's proposing is not reducing the pay of anyone, is it?
No, the council is not proposing a reduction of pay. We're trying to make our salary ordinance match the pay that's being issued so that it doesn't create an issue with State Board of Accounts. Currently the salary ordinance says $140 a day, and one of the options they are considering is removing the per election day language and leaving $140 a day. The second option they're considering is going to an hourly rate. the thought behind that is to divide the 140 into an 8-hour day, and then that would establish the hourly rate. So if the leads are working 8 hours a day, not a reduction in pay. They're still going to make $140 that day. The third option is combining everyone, and that would be either setting a per diem or an hourly rate. But the intent is not to reduce election worker pay.
I'm sorry, excuse me a minute though. I do have one other question. So you said the state statute has 2 categories, but does it preclude localities from having subcategories?
It does not, or it doesn't say that it doesn't. So I assume that since that language is absent, it would not.
Okay. Nicole, Judith, did you have any questions or?
No.
Okay, Nicole.
So this would not be the first, last, or only time that statute has not kept up with the reality of what it takes to put on an election. So early and absentee, for the benefit of the viewing public, early and absentee are interchangeable. And all 92 counties have absentee workers. It's not just election day. If that didn't make it into the state constitution, I'm really sorry, but there is a difference between working on early and absentee voting and working on election day voting. I would like for it to be more aligned, taking into consideration the pay, taking into consideration the fact that, again, post-pandemic, it is more, people are using this money to live. That's not my preference, but I know that it happens because they start calling us the day after the election looking for their money. I have always felt that if you need that money to eat on, this is not the job for you. You should probably be looking for something that provides more stability. And the money that was submitted during the budget last summer is the money that the county attorney is referring to, as there was an issue because 2 workers were honest and turned back in when they were inadvertently paid too much. They actually made a case for all of the work that they do prior to election day that they are not paid for. I also want to point out, if we do the hourly, then I would say if they go over 40, it's not an 8-hour day. I'm sure the public wants to believe we just come in at 8 and leave at 4, especially as we get toward elections. There are more hours, and so if they go over 40 and we can pay overtime, that's fine. We can do that. I don't think the county wants to do that. So I'd rather than have the per diem, but if we're going to do the per diem, then I do think we need to acknowledge that the leads do more and put in more than your counters, your couriers, others. And also, I believe I heard something about the recruiters. The recruiters are paid as leads. I mean, it doesn't say recruiter, but they are paid as leads. And so that's why that is in there.
Nicole, also, I had made a statement to John and Judith whenever they came and met with me on Tuesday that for our leads, if we were to make everybody $17 an hour, our leads work half days. They work the morning shift and then they work the evening shift. So they're working the same amount of hours as our clerks are. If that's the case, they would be losing money from that 140. And with that, our leads are doing the job of a recruiter and the job of a clerk, or taking the instance of an inspector on election day. They're also doing the job of a recruiter on every single day of early voting.
Okay. Molly, do you want to add something? You don't have to, but.
I don't really want to add anything to what our election supervisor just had, but I guess I could structure this in 2 questions maybe to see if I can get the council information that they could rely on. So it sounds like it would be the preference of the election board to leave the subcategories. Is that a correct assumption?
I think that's fair.
If there's no statutory provision precluding that, I think we should.
Okay. And then I
That's
guess.
just my opinion, but.
Member Bankart? Agree. Okay, so it sounds like the preference is to either go with option 1 or 2 that the council is considering, which is really option one is a per diem or option two is an hourly rate. And so I guess, does the board have a preference on whether the leads are per diem or an hourly rate?
I mean, I'll just speak for myself, but I think option one is not really acceptable. I mean, if I understand the operations, in many of these cases, we want to split the day to widen the pool of potential workers who may not be able to commit a full 8 hours, but it just wouldn't make sense to be paying people per diem that assumes 8 hours when we're deliberately trying to break it up into 4-hour shifts.
And I would caution you against using 8 hours during a presidential year. It certainly could be held to 8 hours if it were a municipal. I think that would be more realistic. But we are getting ready for.
No, I understand, Nicole. I'm just saying that's what's in front of us, and the presumption is that it is a set amount for a day's work, regardless if it's 2 hours or 12 hours, right? So the 8 hour is probably not the important thing. It's just that it's saying that you're going to get paid a set amount regardless of the number of hours that you pay or you work that day.
Because you're not locked into 8 hours. If they
Right.
work 10, they're still going to get the hourly rate beyond the 8 hours. So it'd be more than 140.
And then 10 times 5 days, 6 when we have our Saturday voting is going to put them over 40. And so then they would overtime?
Then I would say that's up to the
I think the per diem
council to
was in
decide.
place.
Well, they may decide that. We're only making a recommendation. They may not agree with us. But
Yeah, I mean,
I
I'm not
agree
an
that-
expert on the county's ordinance, but I suspect that there's a category of workers that are eligible for overtime and a lot of them that aren't. And I would suspect that this kind of quote unquote part-time position is probably not. So, I mean, that's
With
a
it being
different issue.
seasonal, I don't see it
seasonal is
having
probably
the
better. Yeah,
overtime.
Okay.
yeah.
And for our leads right now and with previous elections, they work at max 7 hours within that day. They normally only work the 6 with their clerks. So because they have to split it straight in the middle so that they can get transferred over to the next group of clerks that come in, and then the second set of leads come in to take over for them.
So I think for what Molly was seeking in terms of input, the preference is not to limit it to a single amount regardless of hours, but rather focus on an hourly rate. Is that a fair statement?
I agree, yes.
We're not recommending a specific amount. We're just saying that option one, where it's just a flat amount regardless of hours, is not something we would support.
Correct. Laura, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to throw in, for the record, that I hope the council, who is in charge of the purse strings, obviously, will keep in mind that the leads are more of a managerial position because they have to help people, they have to help things, they have to think on the fly. It's not a repetitive, everyday thing. So I'm just putting that on record as the leads are
Yes.
going to be doing a lot more, so they really should get a higher rate. Just throwing that
So
out
I
there.
guess if I could try to summarize what I'm hearing, is one is that we prefer an hourly rate as opposed to a single set amount. We want to maintain the subcategories of the roles and have a pay scale that reflects the differentiated roles and responsibilities that are tied to each of those positions. And generally, yeah, I think that's what we're saying, and that to the extent that the county council can do it, that they should seriously look at, the relative levels of compensation that's being provided from other communities and see if we can't do better.
And I did want to just make a statement. If the leads are to make the $17 an hour and they work the 7 hours, they're going to be losing $21 from that per diem. Because they would only be making $119 instead of the $140 for the day.
In my clerk budget, there's a range for part-time. And so, well, yeah, a range for part-time. I don't know if we could consider a range. 17 seems incredibly low, particularly when it comes to leads.
I agree. So do we know when this is going to be on the county council agenda?
I could check. I think perhaps in the next meeting, but I'm not 100% sure. So once I confirm the date, I will email the election board members to let them know what council member or what council meeting it will appear on.
Great. Okay, any other comments related to that agenda item? Okay, seeing none, now we'll go to public comment, please. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. I was pretty sure that I wasn't really ready, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss this opportunity. My name is Cheryl Langdon. I'm a Monroe County resident and registered voter. I'm also a United States Army military veteran, and I'm also an ex-voter registration clerk. And I have a small something that I put together that I want to read off and just read it from beginning to end, finish it off, and then if you guys have any questions, you can ask me at the end, and that'll be fine. All right. And it's really hard to be here today, but I feel that it's my duty. The energy in Monroe County government has reached a high pitch of screaming corruption, deafening the hearing of every voter and taxpayer in the county. The swan song of our republic's ability to protect voices in our communities are now lacking the assurance of no mob rule or corrupt tyranny. It has reached its summit of corruption at its peak at Election Central, with its lack of security and integrity during our elections. I have proof of the integrity of last November's election being compromised by Kylie Moreland. I have timestamped photographs. Here's one of them as evidence. I notified the election board at the time. I asked for an investigation concerning Kylie Moreland's inexperience, faux pas, and mistake, I'm assuming, but she did it several times, and this was just one particular day. And I asked for that investigation, and I never saw it happen. I don't know what happened. And I have another question. Why was I required to be a Monroe County resident and registered voter in order to work my part-time $15 an hour election worker job? I was required part-time, $15 an hour, but that criteria was not required of two of the highest election workers that's in this room right now. One in Brown County, one with the residents in Greene County. I had to take the oath. I had to check the box of the criteria that I'm here in Monroe County registered. And this is during the most important election of our nation in 2024. And they have access to Monroe County votes. It is important that everyone has the same criteria. And I have another question. How is it that Kylie Moreland even got this job in the first place as another position last fall? It was because she has a mother-in-law that is in a higher echelon of the correctional facility who begged Nicole to get her a job. And so now she's on the inside track, and she gets the edge over other candidates to be able to get this position, pushing out anyone else, because I'm sure someone outside of this county would have loved to apply for that position as well. I know I met some. Now that I'm asking a couple of questions, why didn't we get some of that $2 million fund that the state secretary Morales offered? Why didn't we get that? I know the answer. Do you?
Your time is running out here.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done. And why am I not sitting over there taking the minutes at this meeting now? I know the answer. Do you? And how can you fiscally justify your spending on the television advertisement last year during early election when your new supervisor Herndon and his assistant Kylie Moreland were both informed on the misuse of those funds? I know the answer. Do you? Training was never encouraged. I begged for training, offered to pay for it. And you shut the door on me, Nicole. And you're the person who hired me. So I'm asking that there be an investigation about all the events that's happened up until now. I think we need to take a hard look at this, and taxpayers do have the right to know how their money is being spent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you mind giving us a copy of your remarks for?
Absolutely, I have it for you.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to recess so that if
thank
we
you.
get the date for the LAT testing, then the board can come back together. We'll have to notice it publicly, and then the board can come back together at that time.
Second.
Second.
Typically, when you recess, you state the date that you're going to reconvene, and it doesn't sound like we know the date that we're going to reconvene yet.
So can we just adjourn and then call a special meeting?
I think you would adjourn and then do a special, and then do notice the testing.
Great, okay. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.